This was supposed to be the last manned bomber, 3 times the speed of sound and higher than most fighters and guns of its day. So how did it end up in pieces over the California desert after a dumb mid-air photo shoot went wrong? This is the story of the bomber that could have ruled the skies until it crashed mid-air. By 1961, the Valkyrie was already living on borrowed time. No big fleet, no last manned bomber. Just 2 XB-70s turned into flying science projects. Their job now? Show engineers what Mach 3 really does to a giant airframe. Sonic booms, shock waves, heat, flexing metal, control systems getting bullied by thin air at insane speeds. All the stuff you can't figure out from a chalkboard. Did that make the airplane any less wild? Not even close. Its first flight was pure test pilot chaos. One engine quit right after takeoff. A warning light kept the landing gear down, so they couldn't go fast. Then, on landing, a locked brake chewed up 2 main tires and lit them on fire. Not exactly the grand entrance you'd expect from the future of bombing, right? But it toughened up fast. On its 3rd flight, the Valkyrie went supersonic. Later, it nudged past Mach 3 at altitude. The problem? The fancy honeycomb skin on AV-1 didn't love being cooked at those temperatures. Panels started to peel and tear in flight, so engineers had to cap that jet at around Mach 2.5. So they took everything AV-1 taught them and poured it into AV-2. Stronger structure, cleaner fixes, better high-speed behavior. And it worked. In early 1966, AV-2 hit about Mach 3.05 near 72,000 feet. On another run, it held Mach 3 for over half an hour, thousands of miles, eaten up in the time it takes you to scroll TikTok. Would you not want to be in that cockpit for just one of those flights? The small details were just as crazy. The tires weren't normal rubber. They were loaded with heat-resistant compounds so they didn't melt after a scorching landing. Each tire got pumped up to about 500 psi to prove it wouldn't fail, then drained and refilled with nitrogen for storage. Overkill? Not when your landing weight is in small building territory. Behind the main gear sat a tiny 5th wheel. Its only job was to measure true ground speed and talk to the anti-skid computer. Because at those speeds, if you guess wrong on braking, you're not rolling out. You're doing runway barbecue. We already saw it on day 1 with AV-1. Locked brakes, cooked tires, flames. Lesson learned. Inside the wings and belly, the hydraulic system had to juggle everything. It moved the control surfaces. It had a huge landing gear, and it helped route fuel through cooling loops so the airplane didn't roast itself at Mach 3. Hot fuel, hot structure, high pressure, and miles of plumbing. One small problem, and suddenly you've got another great story, terrible maintenance day. Even the paint couldn't keep up. At full speed, the skin got so hot that the white paint, laid on too thickened spots, turned brittle and flaked off. Imagine going so fast your paint job quits. That's the Valkyrie. Looking cool became a maintenance line item. Still, by 1966, things felt under control. AV-2 was the go-to Mach 3 bird and the star of sonic boom tests. Long, fast runs over instrumented ground ranges just to see how hard the booms hit towns and cities. Those tests would later help push the decision to ban routine supersonic airline flights over land in the US. Not bad for a bomber that never dropped a bomb. And then, the photo shoot. General Electric powered almost everything in the sky back then. Someone in marketing decided they wanted a hero shot, a formation of GE-powered jets, all in one frame. So they lined up a very expensive parade over the California desert. An F-4 Phantom, an F-5, a T-38, a sleek F-104 starfighter, and in the middle, like a boss, XB-70 AV-2. A Learjet with a camera crew slid alongside to grab the footage. What could go wrong with that, right? They flew lazy ovals for about 40 minutes. The camera team kept calling for tighter, tighter to make the shot look perfect. From the ground, it probably looked like a movie poster, fighters from different eras tucked in around this huge white triangle. But the one jet you didn't want to mess with was the one in the middle. Because the Valkyrie's wake wasn't just turbulence, it was a weapon. Any wing makes a swirling trail of disturbed air. You've seen it in glider smoke trails, in those spinny contrails off wingtips, even in slow-motion paper plane videos. For a normal fighter, flying through that wake can roll you if you're not careful. For a 200-ton delta-wing bomber, that wake is like invisible barbed wire running off the trailing edge, strongest near the tips. In the F-104 sat Joe Walker, NASA's chief test pilot. Not some rookie. This guy flew the X-15 25 times. He'd already flown chase next to the Valkyrie several times, often in a starfighter just like this one. He knew the jet. He knew the formation game. But his position that day was brutal. He was tucked slightly low and off the Valkyrie's right side, using the fuselage as his reference. From there, he couldn't really see the wingtip without twisting around. A TC also called out another bomber, a B-58, at high altitude. Some accounts suggest that might have pulled his eyes up for a moment, and with wake turbulence, one moment is all it takes. Somewhere in that tightening formation, the F-104 slid a little too close. Its vertical tail clipped the Valkyrie's right wingtip and fell straight into that powerful wake. The starfighter pitched up, flipped inverted over the top of the XB-70, and then came apart. Burning wreckage fell across the bomber's back. In that one hit, the Valkyrie lost most of both vertical fins and took a big bite of damage in the left wing. Up front, AV-2's pilot, Al White, heard a heavy thud. Over the radio, Joe Cotton in the T-38 yelled, "Mid-air, mid-air," and reported that the Valkyrie had lost its tails. For about 15 to 20 seconds, the big white triangle just kept going straight. No fins, damaged wing, still flying, barely. Then, aerodynamics took over. The jet snapped into a roll, shed part of its left wing, and dropped into a flat, tumbling spin. Fuel and debris streamed off as it fell toward the desert. Can you imagine looking out that cockpit window as the horizon starts spinning like that? White and his co-pilot, Major Carl Cross, had one card left to play: their ejection capsules. Not normal ejection seats. The XB-70 used clamshell pods that closed around each pilot before firing to protect them from the brutal wind blast at Mach speeds. To use it, you had to pull yourself back into the capsule, tuck everything in, slam the doors shut, and hope the system did the rest. In the chaos, White's elbow got jammed in the capsule doors. He ripped it free at the last second. The pod fired, but the clamshell didn't fully seal. When his capsule hit the ground, the impact cushion underneath never inflated. He slammed into the desert under a massive deceleration and somehow survived, badly injured, but alive. Carl Cross never made it out. Whether he blacked out early or just couldn't fight the forces, he went down with the jet. Walker had already died when the F-104 broke apart. Two of the best pilots in the test world gone in seconds, and the more capable of the two Valkyries gone with them. On the ground, the fallout was brutal. A billion-dollar experimental aircraft lost on a marketing shoot. The flight hadn't even been cleared at the right level. Investigators pointed to wake turbulence, tight formation geometry, bad sightlines for the F-104, mental fatigue, maybe that radio distraction. No single villain, just a chain of tiny decisions that ended in fire. Have you noticed how aviation disasters almost never come from just one mistake? Some officers tied to the mission were reprimanded or removed. Unofficially, the crash became a warning story. Don't play formation games near big wake machines. Don't let photo ops drive flight profiles. The XB-70 program didn't stop on the spot. The first prototype, AV-1, kept flying research missions, sonic boom runs, structural tests, but it was already capped at lower Mach numbers thanks to earlier damage. And without AV-2, the true high-speed workhorse was gone. By 1969, it was over. The last flight was a slow ferry trip to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. The Valkyrie taxied in, shut down for the final time, and never flew again. Today it sits in the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force, huge, silent. Most visitors only know Mach 3 bombers from video games and concept art. Then, they walk under that white delta and realize, oh, we actually built this. For all the pain, the Valkyrie didn't vanish without a trace. Data from its flights fed into the B-1 bomber program, into the U.S. Supersonic Transport Project, into Soviet work on jets like the MiG-25 and the Tu-144. Its cooling tricks, honeycomb skin, intakes and control systems all became part of the playbook. It was supposed to be the bomber that ended the bomber race. Instead, it became a bridge to the next generation. In the end, the B-70 didn't lose to Soviet fighters. It lost to missiles, budgets, and physics. Surface-to-air systems made high-altitude runs risky. ICBMs made manned nuclear bombers look old. Low-level tactics erased much of its advantage. And one bad moment in another jet's wake erased the airframe that showed what it could do. But if you ever stand under that Valkyrie in Dayton, it still feels dangerous. Like if someone fueled it, cleared the runway, and looked the other way for a minute, it could still go out and own the sky. And that's the weird thing about machines like this. Sometimes we build the most advanced stuff right as the world stops needing it. If clear, no-nonsense breakdowns of machines like this help you see the bigger picture behind the headlines and the hardware, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive.